Hey guys, welcome back. Luca here, and today I want to share a little bit more in depth about my experience working at Google. Coming out of college, I was really excited to join my team, of course, and a lot of times it really depends on the team you join. The team I joined was a little bit similar to a 0 to 1, since we are trying to make a product that already existed but migrate into a newer tech stack. So I say 0 to 1 since we are trying to build something from the ground. My first year experience was overall very good, because that was before the pandemic. I still had to go into the office, and as a new grad, you want to take advantage of all the office perks. And that's something I really enjoyed, all the free food, all the cafeteria that come with the drinks, the snacks. But of course I was still very nervous, since I'm working on this project, and turns out everything I have learned in my courses are not as relevant. Sure, you're grinding out these data science or algorithm questions, but when you're on the job, nothing really required that levels of algorithms or that level of data structure. I'm just building full stack applications, oh, what's the client side UI should look like, and here's how the backend should handle it, how to make the server client side communication. And there was actually a huge learning curve for me, and it took me you can say pretty much the whole 6 months just to get really familiar with all these process, what the team is trying to do. And after hitting the 6-month mark, it's actually when the pandemic started to happen. But yeah, it's very normal to join a team, especially out of college, to just not know a lot of stuff. I think the same can be applied to bootcamp as well, but bootcamp is a little bit better since they actually prepare you for this specialized field. For example, you can be a full stack developer in the bootcamp, where they teach you how server side or client side works. Whereas in college, I didn't really take any of those classes. It's mostly standalone projects where you only have to implement the function that they already rolled up for you. They just want you to fill in what the function should do. Of course, there's higher level, more advanced courses where you do have to build stuff from the ground up, but nothing like the skill I was used to when I first joined my team. But overall, I want to say after my first year experience, I can already tell Google is a place where they make you a good software engineer. They not only enable you, but they also make you better software engineer. Some of the reasons are because the internal tools are such, it's so good that they make your development cycle so much easier. The code reviewing, sending to other people, or doing code searches, it's also very convenient. The IDE is up to you, IntelliJ VS Code, but the extension, how they integrate it into their internal system, it's truly amazing. Making searches, finding patterns, very easy. Of course, takes time to really navigate your code base and really understand where everything's located, but the internal tool just make your life so much easier. Another thing I say, all these tools make your life easier, but it doesn't really make you a well or good software engineer. But what comes is the amount of senior team members that you are surrounded with. Everyone I have worked with was so smart, and you learn so much from them. And there's a very distinct good coding standards, what's considered acceptable, how you should focus on the styling, how you should comment your code, how you should spread out your code. All these, I don't think you can learn from a lot of places. But here, Google is one of the companies that actually teach you all these things. And you really get to know how to do software engineering or how to code from a very good starting point. And I think this is something that I appreciate a lot and I carry with me. My team at the time is actually very structured. So you have your core engineering team, you work with the UX designer and then the PM. And then of course you have other UX researchers or people who focus on more customer facing side. Everything is divided in a way that makes a lot of sense. But then again, there's something that comes as a trade-off. Because everything is so structured, there's always a correct way, or the Google way of doing certain things. And compared to working at a smaller company or other companies, there could be slower development process, because everything you want to release or eventually going into prod environment, it will affect billions, millions of users. So everything they do is very careful and calculated, so it takes a longer time to develop stuff. And for example, starting off my second year, when I'm starting to like, you know, take on harder or more complex projects, a lot of them takes like days, weeks to going back and forth with the UX team, the PMs, trying to set up like, oh, what's some feature that we could consider doing, what's something like, oh, we might not necessarily get the approval from. So definitely while I was on my team, I have noticed like my growth. Like I can't tell you exactly at which point, like, oh, I suddenly know everything. But then again, like this is part of the learning process. Like I was doing these things like repeatedly, like I keep working on similar tasks that help me understand like, oh, what is actually this like full stack flow? Like how does client side actually communicate with the server side? And Google offer you all these internal tools that you have to learn in order to really understand how these things work as well. Which is something like I find harder since there aren't a lot of resources out there that, you know, you can find like meaningful, or like, for example, I couldn't like search up certain questions on Stack Overflow since they didn't exist. The best way I can do it is by searching internally and hoping another team have done it. But then again, that relies on other team that is working on a similar stack. And I do want to say, like, as we all know, like Google is being around for like 20 some years now. And one thing you do come to realization is that some of the teams are still using like older stacks. For example, some of the most popular ones are C++. And many of these code are written in like, you know, older languages that it's probably gonna go away soon, but you still have to learn all these things in order to understand how they work. And that could also be another tricky aspect of working at these older and bigger tech companies. But at the end of the day, a lot of the project I had to reach out to other teams, but everyone here was so helpful and so smart. Like I feel like it was really easy to work with other people, and that's something I really enjoy and liked. Another thing that I want to say that I really liked about Google is the fact that it actually felt very familiar. Graduating college, going to the workforce could be considered like a scary thing. But one thing that Google actually does is like they make the workplace very much like college. You have the cafeteria, you have clubs that you can join, and they really make your work part of like your college extension experience. And some can say like that's kind of dangerous, because it's like, oh, now you have more incentive to stay, like, oh, now this is the place that you can work here for ever, because that's like something that you always have to think about since they provide you such good experiences. But then again, like if it's so good, then why not stay longer, right? So like as long as I think you're always learning and stuff, like that's the most important part. So while I was working there, I was a part of a few clubs, and you will quickly realize like once you're a part of these clubs, you can host like talks, you can work with like other teams, other people, like you meet new friends, co-workers, like from all these clubs. And it's actually awesome, the fact that you can just do all these things. And another aspect that I really enjoy is the fact that the company itself is actually very transparent and answer a bunch of questions that anyone can submit. So it's a very good way to show that or ask the leadership certain questions and you get a response from them on a weekly basis. And that really keep the company culture like really positive. And that's something that I really enjoyed. And so I want to say like my experience is actually very positive. Like there was so much stuff that I was able to learn. Like back in college, like I didn't expect this is how you do software engineering. I thought it was just gonna be very similar to like straightforward, like, oh, you just have to do a project, that's it. Like work on your course project and you will be good to go. But all those things have no real world application. Like you didn't have to really think about the user experiences. But working here has really taught me a lot of these things, and I think it's very valuable. So yeah, this is like my experience working at Google. I hope you all enjoyed this video. So for my next video, I'm actually thinking about making one about how to get a job at Google. So stay tuned, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.